People's Candidate Forum. Joining us now is co-founder of Black Lives Matter Greater New York, Chivona Newsome, candidate for Congress in District 15. Thank you for your interest in representing this community. Let's begin. I'll start off with an icebreaker question. Please share a 1 or 2 word intention you hold for today's interview.
I want the world, the Bronx, because that is my world, born and raised. I want people to know who I am and what I stand for, and I absolutely want them to know that I will fight for them as I've done in my career for the betterment of my life.
Thank you.
First question is, the South Bronx has been disproportionately impacted by the COVID-19 outbreak. With public health officials forecasting a potential second wave, what will you do if you are hired to address this ongoing crisis?
Well, without being elected, I addressed the crisis on April 1st, that's April 7th, in a letter to Governor Cuomo asking for more testing sites because we saw the numbers coming out of Chicago, and also on our Facebooks and social media where I'm so in touch with so many Bronx residents, so many people were dying. And then I also created the People's Food Program in conjunction with Black Lives Matter Greater New York. As of date, we fed 6,000 people door to door. So once I'm elected to office, it will give me way more resources. It will give me the ability to create a greener space here, because that's why we're having a hard time fighting diseases the same way we had with Legionnaire's disease in 2015. We have so many pre-existing conditions because of the environmental injustices we face. So I look forward to having bigger resources and more of a platform to help, in addition to the things I've already started grassroots here on the ground in the Bronx.
Thank you.
In regards to criminal justice reform and jails, Congressman Jose Serrano has stood with a large contingent of community members who oppose the city's plan to build a new jail in Mont Haven. What is your position on the plan, which would put the new jail on a plot of land already earmarked by the community for an affordable housing development? And what have you done, or what would you do to advance your position on this?
In regards to criminal justice reform, that's the reason why I sound so raspy. I've been in Minneapolis and all over the city protesting. This isn't my normal voice. But to answer your question, I'm still with Just Leadership and that whole movement to close Rikers. And I understand the reasoning why it should be in the community, because people don't want people incarcerated to be so separated, meaning your family should still visit you. I think we forget once people are awaiting trial or in jail that they are still humans. That's why I believe in halting solitary confinement. So I believe that once we get to a point where we no longer need jails, I do believe in the abolishment of jails. Of course, I would disagree with that. But I understand if a lot of Bronx residents are currently incarcerated or facing charges, their families should have better access to them.
Thank
you.
I
support it, yes.
Thank you for that. So I have a quick response question for you. Please complete the following sentence. Today, I want to make the world.
Today, I want to make the world a fair and equal place for all people, no matter their shade, hue, no matter their country of origin. I want to level the playing field is what I want to do today.
Thank you.
Thanks. A public housing question. Residents of NYCHA have been facing deplorable conditions for decades due to federal underfunding. What will you do to fix public housing with less public funding available than ever before because of the current economic crisis?
I'm a little upset by the pandemic because I feel it gave people, career politicians who are currently in office, a reason to cut summer youth, to not provide money for NYCHA. What I just proposed in the Black Act, Black Lives Matter Greater New York just held a Times Square rally where we called on legislation to help Black people, but that'll help all marginalized people, is for HUD to fully fund housing development projects, whatever term people use to refer them to personally, around our nation. Right now, we have $500 million to contribute to NYCHA. We know the New York State has been holding that back. As someone who's a fighter and who's affected change without ever holding elected office, I've never ran for elected office, but I've gotten laws changed like the New York State Tenant Protection Act. I know that I have the ability to make the funding available. I know that I have the ability to pressure the nation and the country and write legislation to help NYCHA.
Thank you.
I want to talk now about affordable housing. Who is it really affordable for? Community members, as you know, have embraced community land trusts, which would in theory take property off the speculative real estate market and help develop deeply affordable housing. What specific actions will you take to ensure that affordable housing and home ownership are possible for the folks in our community?
This was also released on June 7th in the Black Act, and that's calling for tentative co-ops. If a building is in foreclosure or the landlord is losing that, tenants should have the right to own property. I think that people forget that the foundation of America is life, liberty, and property. Owning property is something that many people in the Bronx do not have. We either live in tenements or we live in public housing. Also, making it green in that package that I'm proposing, I am in full support of the Green New Deal for public housing. So we need to bring funding there. We need to change the infrastructure there, and then we need to hire the residents who live there to do the work. So I do believe in fully funding all of these programs and creating new jobs. And a huge important about where I want to go in Congress is to the Appropriations Committee. For those of your viewers who do not know, that's who controls the money. So having someone like me who understands the hardships of Americans, and especially our people here in the Bronx, we would get the resources we need. The money is there, the same way we've seen it in the stimulus package, the way that we see America spend money on war. Money is there for our community. We just need someone to go there, like myself, to release the funds.
Thank you. In regards to arts and culture, a majority of the creative workforce, meaning artists in all disciplines, are freelancers and/or seasonal workers. COVID-19 has resulted in a dramatic loss of income for them. What would you do to help creative workers overcome these challenges?
Well, I have already started that, and I think that people need to reclaim their power. That's what my candidacy is about. And a letter, as soon as we started sheltering in place and the pandemic started making people lose their jobs, last check was $38 million. I called for a stimulus package before the first one was signed by Congress. My whole campaign has supported basic income to help workers who are gig workers, who are creatives, so they can always have a baseline to pay their bills. I've called for $2,000 to go to every single person for the duration of the pandemic, and $1,200 after, and then $500 for each child. So having a basic income allows people to follow their dreams, to be creative, and to still have a decent place to live, to have shelter and have food. Because as we all know, those things seem like luxury here in the Bronx, because we have been redlined, we have been left out to dry. Things that people take advantage of and don't even consider here. We live in food insecurity, not only depending on your job. We know our median income here is $28,000, but I was the first candidate to support a guaranteed basic income, and I think that will assist.
Thank you, Chivona.
Thanks. Small businesses in our district were already hurting because of rent hikes, the influx of big box stores, and online sales. Now with the latest crises of COVID and looting, they have fallen further behind. What would you do to restart small business and promote entrepreneurship in our district?
I think it first starts with education. In the Black Act, we do have where we are changing educational curriculum, not only fully funding and doing a needs-based program for the education system, but our kids need to learn how to be entrepreneurs before they decide to do so in adulthood. We know that small business is the backbone of America, and most of the people who live in our communities are Black and brown. But as we saw from the COVID crisis, 95% of people of color who apply for these small business loans were unavailable to do so. And that's before protests began, that's before rioting, before looting, before any of these things happened, and the unfortunate murder of George Floyd, our community was suffering. So we need to think about the real, what does WMBE stand for? Is it really supporting women and minority business owners when we see great business owners like Bronx Native having to go fund me? So we need to make it easier for Black and brown people to start their own businesses and give them the resources to do so.
Thanks.
How specifically would you provide teeth to the community-driven solutions that have been articulated over the years by some of the organizations hosting this forum and others you may have engaged with during your campaign?
Well, my whole thing and why I'm going to Congress is about legislation. I feel that for anything to truly happen, it needs to be written in Black and white. It needs to be applied across the board, and it absolutely needs to be federal funding. So the great work that everyone on this panel has done and has supported, and as a coalition builder and the co-founder of Black Lives Matter, I fought for, nothing will be concrete until we have lawmakers like myself.
Thank you.
Thank you. So now I have another quick response question for you.
Okay.
Please answer yes or no. Do you think drug use is a criminal justice concern?
No, I actually think it's more of a mental health, and I'm sorry if I'm making the wrong clarification, but it's a harm reduction kind of issue. We need to create safe spaces for people who use drugs, and we need to think about the underlying cause. People use drugs because of poverty. People use drugs because of mental illness. I don't think that this is something that should be in the criminal justice system. My people, meaning Black and brown people, have fought too long and too hard to keep our families together because of the perils of the criminal justice system. So I do not want to send someone who has an illness, because that's what drug addiction is, into the criminal justice system.
Thanks.
Thank you.
How will you use your leverage in the federal government to address the South Bronx's vulnerability to the impact of climate change if you're elected?
Well, I actually helped organize the Youth Climate Strike, which was historic. We sent our youth coalition out to Iowa and to learn how to organize. And what most people don't know, it comes across as an issue of privilege, but environmental injustice affects us most. It's the reason why we all have asthma. It's the reason why we have these environmental hazards, because we have waste sites, we have waste management, we have buses, we have so much construction. We need federal restriction on this. We need to open up parkland. We need to harden the regulations for people and businesses coming in. Like some of my competitors have allowed Fresh Direct to come in to our district, knowing that we don't even utilize Fresh Direct and their trucks are idling. I think that we need more money to create urban farmings. We need more greener spaces, and we need to train our people here on how to get a great job creating solar farms and green new jobs, wind turbines. So that's what I would use my power to do.
To wrap up our People's Candidate Forum today, how would you articulate a set of planning principles that will guide development that will serve to both preserve and grow the district? And how would you include the community in the adoption of those principles?
I believe that everything is a collective. What people don't know about when you run for Congress is that you get to hire social workers, you get to hire community people, you get to have these meetings, and everything I've done in my life has been a collective. There has been no I. Of course, it'll be my name on the ballot on June 23rd, but I look forward to working with the people who are working on the ground, such as yourself, such as the people who are headlining environmental injustice, criminal justice reform. And I want to make a way for that before creating a policy, because this campaign has taken no corporate money, no PAC money. We don't owe anyone anything but the people of the Bronx. So that allows us to draft policies from the community, not from lobbyists.
Chivona, you just brought up the next question, but just for clarity's sake, yes or no, before today, had you taken a pledge against taking money from big corporations like real estate developers and other special interests?
I honestly didn't even know it was a pledge. I just knew that it was the right thing to do. So I encourage anyone, we can send over our Act Blue list. That's where candidates collect money. There are no real estate people on my list. There are none. It was just the right thing to do. I didn't feel a need to formally state it. It was just, even in co-founding Black Lives Matter Greater New York, I never took this organization. We never took any corporate dollars, our chapter. We never took any special government money. It was because once you start taking money from those people, you lose your voice and you lose your integrity. And the Bronx deserves a candidate who comes unbought and unbossed. That's why they need to come out and vote in support of me.
Thank you.
And thank you. Thank you for your interest in serving as the next congressperson in District 15. The people of the district will make a decision on June 23rd. Be well and stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I admire each and every one of you. Please continue to fight for the Bronx and utilize your platform to bring the goodness. Like, I'm honored to be sitting here with you, and have an amazing day, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chivona. Likewise with the Black Lives Matter Greater New York movement.
Thank you. All powers to the people.